Okay, in this video I'm going to look at some expansions where we've got more than one kind of surd. So we've got a bracket times a bracket, so of course we need a grid. So in the top corner I've got 3 root 2 times 2 root 2. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, and then I've got root 2 times itself. In the next one I've got a 3 times a minus 1 is a minus 3, and then I've got a root 2 times a root 5. In this corner I've got 1 times 2 is 2, and I've got a root 2 times a root 5. And then in this corner I've got a minus times a plus is a minus, and then I've got root 5 times itself. But all of these things simplify. So in this one, root 2 times itself, well, the job of root 2 times itself is to equal 2. So this becomes 6 times root 2 times root times is 2. In this corner I've got root 5 times itself, and the job of that is to equal 5. And then in the other two positions I've got root 2 times root 5. Now we learnt in another video that root a times root b is the square root of ab. So if I've got root 2 times root 5, I've got a is 2, b is 5, 2 times 5 is 10, so root 2 times root 5 can be replaced by root 10. And of course I can do the same thing in the other corner. And with a bit of practice you can go straight to this grid doing the root 2 times root 2 in your head as 2, and the root 2 times the root 5 as root 10, and the root 5 times itself as 5 to end up with this grid straight away. Now all I've got to do is combine the terms. 6 times 2 is 12. Take away 5 gives me plus 7. And then with root 10s I've got 2 of them here, but I've got minus 3 of them there, so I end up with just minus root 10. So the answer to this complicated looking expansion is simply 7 minus root 10. Let's follow up by looking at this one. Here we've got the pattern of a bracket times an equivalent bracket with a sign swap. So you may be able to guess what's going to happen here. But doing the full grid, I've got 2 times 2 is 4, times root 3 times itself. You can write root 3 first if you like. I'm going to say that root 3 times itself is 3, so I'm going to go straight to 4 times 3 here. In this corner I've got 2 times 1 is 2, times root 3 times root 7. In this corner 2 times minus 1 is minus 2, times root 3 times root 7. And in this bottom corner 1 times minus 1 is minus, but root 7 times itself, its job is to equal 7. Now I could simplify root 3 times root 7 to root 21, but if I look at these two terms, because of the pattern of the two similar brackets but with the sign swap, these two terms are identical but opposite signs, so these, when I add them up, are just going to cancel each other out. So I'm just left with the term from the top left and the term from the bottom right. So I've got a 12 in the top left minus a 7 in the bottom right, so the answer is simply 5. So this complicated expression, because of the pattern of the difference of two squares, this is called, I end up with this all simplifying out to a whole number, in this case 5.